Alright guys, I wanted to give you guys a test hand and things to think about when you're testing with this deck in specific, because a lot of times things are not so straightforward, especially when you're playing with a newer strategy, especially when you're not used to it. This is one of those decks where you really need to mulligan really hard for specific cards, and your leader with the new effect, looking at the top 5, does help with the strategies, like puzzle piece type strategy, and I'll go ahead and go into that right here. As you see, I'm shuffling really heavily, and I've done a lot of test hands with this deck, and it doesn't help that I haven't been able to play against many of the new decks yet, especially with the strategy, but this is mainly just theory, so this deck's probably going to evolve over time. If you guys want to see an update, please make sure to give this video some love as well as the deck profile. But let's go ahead and get it started. So in DBS, if you're not familiar and you're just looking to learn how to play this deck with the starter deck, you start off with 6 cards in your opening hand, and with this specific deck, you're looking to get your cantrips, which is just a funny term for cards that draw you cards that are cost 1. Now, for those of you that came from the starter deck and you're looking to get cards to build this deck, this is probably one of the hardest cards for you really to get. This card has so many printings. This is just the winner print, and this is an uncommon from set 10, not hard to get, and this is a common in your starter deck, just foil. This is a uncommon from the draft box 3, so this may be a little harder to find unless you just order it online. Then you got the Vegeta from set 16. This is a common. This is a really good card. It's a 1 of or 2, maybe 2 of in the side. It's a good card. It's removal. But yeah, the only cantrip we found or unison related card that we really want to see in opening hand is Borgos, and then you want to see this Heroic Prospect. But depending on the matchup, this may not be that necessary to have in your opening hand. But you really want to see these 2 cards in your opening hand, mainly because this is a barrier 1 cost that draws you a card. And then you have, this is your negate to play up on after you play Kai. Now, hopefully, if you don't see Kai in your opening 6 cards, after mulligan specifically, putting those cards back and trying to shuffle up really good and find that unison. If you find the unison, then you don't have to get it off the top 5 with your leader. Unless you just want to back up unison. Or that's maybe your only target in the top 5. Let's go ahead and go. Next 4 cards. Okay, so no unison. So, oh, there it is. Last card off the top. We got this Bulma, which is a really cool card from set 10 as well. It's a common if you don't have them. I don't know if it's in the starter deck. I totally forgot. I put all my starter deck cards over there, but if it's not in the starter deck, this is a pretty good common to put in your deck. Top 8 cards is your life. And this is important. This deck in general feeds off of the life and setting it up, it is a interesting technique. We do have one of the cards you want to place in your life, which is good. And now we have to go with testing what you're charging. This opening hand, I would probably charge the Child's Army Reinforcement, depending on what deck I'm playing against. Sometimes Bean would be the charge here, but I really want to keep all these cards in my hand. And I love beans. Stacking beans in your hand is nice. Place in your battle area. Pay 1. Draw a card. And this is a barrier threat. And then we drew our piece of the puzzle that we're missing, which is awesome. Let's just assume your opponent's attacking. You take 1 damage. Look at it. Okay, it's that. You don't reveal it to your opponent because of your leader effect. Unless it's critical, then you get to put it in your hand. Cool, we got that established, the Borgos. And now this is where fun things start to happen. Next draw for turn. So you added these 2 cards to your hand. That's the difference between the previous turn. And you'll charge the extra copy of Unison unless you feel like you need a second copy in the matchup. And if they're just going to fight your Unison over and over. So it could be either this or... The cards we drew basically were the charger's choice because you had all the other pieces in your hand. And Beam just helps. So we will do what we can. We'll play our Unison. Tap 2. And we will get the markers on the unison. I don't have a dice handy right now, but let me grab a dice really quickly. We'll roll up the dice in a second, but not just yet. This card has an activate main and a +1, so it has 2 activate mains. So we're going to do the first activate main first off of this one because we want to see what card we got in our life for the next. Patrol Bean, that doesn't really give us much information about like what puzzle pieces we could have drew, depending on your hand, if you were trying to sculpt it still. I'm going to get that hand as hefty as possible here. Now that we've done that, and we already have a card we want to charge out of our, play in our life, face down, Bulma. We're going to just do the effect of Supreme Kai here. Take this life, because unknown. Crap, what's another bean? I'm just stacking up on beans. I'm going to place this Bulma in our life. I'm going to place it face up, even though technically it's not face up. So you're reminding it it's there. Okay. We'll attack with our leader. Look at the top 5. That's a card we can grab. That's a card we can grab. And that's the card we can grab. And that's the card we can grab. So the only card we can't grab is the Dirty Brush, because it's not a Saiyan or Earthling or a Unison 2 cost. So, we can't, technically, I forgot, we can't grab this one because it's not 5. It's a 5 cost, not a 4 cost. So we have 3 choices to choose between. And in this case, I don't think we need another Bulma right now. We could grab a Bulma for next turn, which is not bad. But I think in this case, I guess it's not going to hurt to grab another Bulma for next turn. So we'll shuffle our deck up after getting that. Now on our opponent's turn, we get, at the end of the turn, you will have an opportunity to untap an energy because you did the activate main from your Unison. On your opponent's first attack, you can just play Heroic Prospect, and this will deter some attacks from cards higher than their energy cost, because they'd have to choose 2 cards in their hand and place them at the bottom of their deck to attack with anything higher than their energy cost, which in this case would be 2, which is really good. So if they have anything higher than a 2 cost that they cheated out, they can't attack. They can't play it. They can play it, but they can't attack with it. If they did attack with their leader, you can just go like, okay, cool. I'll play this Bulma by revealing it after taking the damage, or you can actually technically hold that Bulma for later. But in this case, value is value. You try to get as much value you can. And then we'll go top 5, and we're gonna grab a Trunks, Vegeta, or just in this case, just the only option is Trunks 4-drop, because that Vegeta is a GT, not a regular Vegeta. Just keep that in mind. The super combo is not a target for Bulma. Okay, shuffle it up really good. Cut. This is something I do a lot of times when I'm wanting to see if a deck flows well. And then everything untaps, and I draw for turn. Notice how my hand size is getting pretty large. As you see, I still want to stack these beans up, but I don't want to really clog them that much. So, but in this case, I don't think I need another one of these. But it couldn't hurt. And this is an anti-blue card, if you don't know. It's an anti-D-Magic. So if they were to untap with their D-Magic or Weak Coercion or something like that, they would not get. They basically get a Zoink, 1 of their life and 1 of their energy. But basically, they'll never do that. As long as this card's on board, it turns off D-Magic essentially. Okay, cool. So Hurrigan, if you don't know what this card does, it's an SR from the newest set. If you have 2 or more battle cards that are blue or green inside of your battle area or combo area, you get to play this guy, activate battle, by paying 2 blue and 1 of any color. So we're going to make it to where it's fun. Now in this case, we're going to assume that we've been attacking with our Unison every turn. I did not showcase that I last turn I attacked with it. But this turn we're going to attack with it first. And add their life. And we're going to activate battle, play this card. Tap 3. Then we can choose to attack with the Trunks. Okay, we're going to activate Hurrigan. We're going to pop this Trunks. Technically, we could have popped any of these 3, but in this case, we're going to do Trunks. Take the top card of the deck, goes into our energy. Cool. So that's actually a good target to hit off the life, because you don't really need to see more than 1 of this card in the game, because it's a unique card. It doesn't really hurt if it gets killed to have another, but in this case, it is totally fine to hit off of your top deck for energy. So now we're at 4 energy. I'm assuming that when I attack and make the top deck a card, they're going to be at least at 4 life. We're going to have 3Z energy, because they'd have to be comboing out of these attacks to not be at 4 life at this point. So leader can now either A, attack and then awaken after looking at the top 5 and grabbing a card if we feel like we're missing a piece, which is not a bad choice here. But we're actually going to activate our Unison. We can also take a life, or we can just take this card and put it, look at it, put it in our hand, and then place a card in our life. In this case, I'm actually going to place this card back in our life because it triggers off the life, and I feel like it'd be better here than Bulma just at the moment. And just in case we want to make sure that we would never have a choice between awakening or not. But in most cases, you'll be able to awaken here without doing it, so we're just going to assume that's the case. I'm going to untap one, draw one, and awaken. And you see, the one problem here is we're only at one energy open, so can't really do much, which is fine for this time point in the game. We're going to activate, that wasn't our +1 to that effect earlier. If we feel like we needed one more energy here, we could, because you get one back at the end of turn, and then you get one back, well, that's to do the deleter effect, and then if you want to do one off this, you can. So we could take this life, put it in our hand, and then at the end of the turn, we're going to tap one more, which would be actually pretty good, because based on what I drew, is pretty good. So attack with leader, draw. So we drew this, which is really powerful. In this case, we'll hold that card for next turn, and we will, since we did that leader effect and we went down to 4 life, we're gonna play this card for 1 energy and draw a card. It has, because I have 3 more energy, and my leader's a blue Saiyan. Draw a card, and it is deflect and blocker, so they can't respond to his play by like stopping him from coming into play, which is really nice. So we draw a super combo. And we have a lot of cards in our hand at this moment. So we have a counter, basically removal, draw 2 next turn, potential triple strike threat, and 3 Senzu Beans for defense. End of turn, leader effect and unison effect, but restand 2 energies. And we will have 2 energies to play defense with on my opponent's turn. And we have a blocker here that if we wanted to block, and we have some combo power on board, as well as the 3 Senzu Beans and the super combos for defense. Cool. So now we're in a good position, especially if they attack and you really like this would be a good card at the moment. You play this, you would take this card and place it on the board, and it bounces 2 of their opponent's battle cards back to their hand. Really nice effect. And yeah, that's pretty much what you're wanting to accomplish. You can end up, and don't forget about comboing cards off your board if you feel like you really need to, or in hand. So, like, for example, I want to combo this Bulma and this Bulma during 2 different separate attacks, so I can hold my beans for later effects. Place them in my Z energy, and then because you need 3 Z energy to play your Vegito, and you can hold that for offensively or defensively. So in this case, we got 3 life left, and that's we could have not been at 3 life. I was just showing you that you could play this championship pack Trunks out from your life if you need to, and you had the blockers and all that stuff. So let's just say we'll do super combo. We'll bottom deck this one and draw 2, and at the end of that battle, we will get to do that. Their next attack, you play the Trunks counter attack, and it's our turn. Cool. We have the ability to play our Vegito out of our extra this turn if we want to. So we'll charge this for turn. I'm sorry, it's a little sloppy. Let's try to keep this all in one area. And now, this is the problem, right? We can't assume that all of our battle cards stayed in play, or I didn't block with this one, or combo with one of them. It just depends on what your opponent does, so take that in mind. This is not like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon where your opponent like can't interact with you in Pokemon, and then you like don't do anything, or like you're like places in a combo where you had like plenty of opportunity to do a combo and protect yourself from the combo and stuff like that. But you know, so we're gonna go Harutogarn after attacking with one of these, and then place this in my energy and rest mode, which is cool. Now we have opportunities here, so we can. Before we do that, we could have technically just held that. Since we have 4 battle cards, we play this for 3. And this would still be technically on top of the deck. Then we'll attack, place this on top of the deck, from top of the deck into the energy. Activate Kefla, draw 2 cards. She says if you activate main once per turn, draw 2 cards at the end of start of your opponent's main phase. You choose 2 of your blue energy, switch them to active mode. So you get to. So we would tap this one, and then we'd restand 2 blue energy. End of turn, you're going to restand 1 blue energy off of your leader effect, and if I wanted to restand one more, which I technically would never probably do that unless I was playing against like a specific deck. But yeah, where I needed all that energy. But it's really cool that you have that option whenever you need to, because you got beans already. So bean is sometimes a good charge target. It really depends on the matchup. I like to hold the beans a lot of times, but even then, in this case, you have to be thoughtful. So attack, make your opponent top deck a card. This also has a built-in removal effect. You can pay 2 blue, draw 1 card, and then choose one of your opponent's battle cards, place it on the bottom of your deck. And if you have Vegito in play, you get to do the gain 10k power and double strike. So it's really interesting. And it doesn't even have to be this specific Vegito. It just has to have the 5 cost or more Vegito. But in this case, I could Senzu Bean up. If you wanted to like pressure, as playing the other card, the Kefla, get the energy back with the Senzu Beans, and then we get to tap the 5 energy by taking these 3 Z energies, place them in your drop area, and get to play the Vegito. And then we'd have a lot of interaction on your opponent's turn. Restanding this card, making your opponent bottom deck a card. They lose cards in hand. It's a really interesting deck to play, and it is very much so anti-Sin Shenron. No critical damage because you reveal the life that goes to your hand. You get the boss monster feel with your Z deck, because you don't have to worry about playing the boss monsters in your main deck anymore. You have your draw 2 super combos to help filter through your cards. You have Senzu Beans to stay alive against the aggressive strategies. You have the anti-threats with the anti-D magic with the little barrier 1-drops that are also good against red, because they are a 1-drop cantrip that will stay on the board that you can combo with to put inside of your Z energy if the need is arising. And yeah, and then you have also just all the blue good stuff that you normally would play in your blue deck. But that is exactly what I do a lot of times to see if my deck is doing what I would want it to do. And yeah, this deck's going to keep getting tweaked with. And also, if reminder for best of 1 pre-side, that you need to make sure that your side deck is prepared for matchups that are not aggressive, because this deck is basically anti-aggro. It has Dirty Burst for Gogeta, for SS4 Gogeta, and it has very little in the main deck for playing against other blue decks. But like this specific card is good against blue decks, so keep that in mind. I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you smash that like button and check out the links in the description too.